Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning.
Welcome, everybody.
Here we are. Tell us, let's see. I know we're talking to our in-college folks, figuring out how can we get a better deal for next year, maybe even this year. I mean, let's start with some positive. We might even be able to save you some money for this year. Forget about next year. But hopefully at a minimum next year. But tell us where your kids at college. Let us know where you're at. It's
Yeah,
always
pop that in the chat.
put it in the chat. It's always fun for us to see. And Howard, Mary Washington, UC Irvine, some
Woohoo! IU, go Hoosiers!
Gad. We got a good Zoomass. There you go. Go Hoosiers. Michigan. Lee, Holy
Got everybody
Cross.
on both coasts and in between. Awesome.
SUNYs. LSU down the bayou. Go Tigers. Texas A&M. Brown. Baylor. Wow, look at this. As always, quite the impressive list there.
Yeah, well, congratulations to all you parents. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Peggy USC folks, should we kick them out? That Southern
Yeah,
California
LSU
thing?
is borderline too big, and I'm not a big fan of Ryan Kelly after what he did to Notre Dame, but we won't hold it against any LSU students, of course.
Not to mention he fired my baby brother. You know,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's two strikes. So.
two strikes. Now I just can't leave. Awesome. Beautiful. So look at we will do quick introductions if you're new to us or a reintroduction if you're not. And obviously the get here is like number one, you've been through this process once, maybe a few times, but I think it's really important to know like, did we do anything that could have hurt our chances of getting deeper discounts, right? And is some of that correctable now or later? And even if the answer is like, nah, you did this right, I think there's some peace in that. And then obviously we'll talk about if we have to borrow, there's been some massive changes there. So we'll talk through some best practices on that front. So my name is Matt Carpenter. I'm a founder here at College Aid Pro, just north of Boston. We're at our office here in Salem, Mass. And I've been doing this for 20 years now. So I've been around the sun just quite a bit. I've worked with every single one of these schools in the chat before. So I can say with confidence I have experience with every single one of these schools. And I just share that to say I think we're great resources for you. So as we're coaching you up on this stuff, please ask your questions and just put them in the Q&A. So yeah, and we're gonna cover the whole gamut here, and I'm excited to be joined by the fairy godmother of financial aid herself, Peggy Keough, representing us out on the would we call it West Coast? Would we call it Mountain Range? What do we call Tucson?
Desert from the
Uh,
Sonoran Desert. Yeah, I'm down in Tucson now. I used to be outside of Seattle, so just outside of Tucson. So yeah, super excited to be here. We already are getting questions, Carp. I love these kind of audiences that we're doing our intros and you're asking questions. We love it. Yeah,
So,
and we'll do our best to answer as many questions. If they're too in depth, that we would need to actually talk to you one on one, that could come up. But yeah, so I'm Peg Keough. Been doing this work. I have twins that are done with college, but that's what really got me into this specific niche where I started my own business and then joined CAP about 4 years ago. I'm a financial planner by background, so that kind of background oozes into everything. Lots of planning opportunities. Your kids and you've made the decision. They're at all these wonderful schools, but as Carp said, or Matt, sorry, call him Matt Carpenter. Um, the they're all discounting, right? And there could have been a mistake, or maybe you didn't get any discounts, but you'll see an opportunity for next year or the year that you just started. So that's our goal for you today is to get you even more knowledgeable. And if you did make a mistake, it's not to create stress. It's like, hey, mistakes can many times be fixed and then it could be to your benefit. So that's a huge win for us if that happens for you. So
and
let
stick
me
around to
in.
the end, guys. Stick around to the end if you can, because we have we think a really generous kind of offer for everybody. Where again, we'll show you at the end, but we can take over here for you guys, and we're pretty good.
Yeah, and I think you probably said it, but questions in the Q&A, and this is being recorded. So if you get distracted or something, don't worry, you will get a recording. So let me share my screen. I I don't always listen to what Matt's saying, so I don't know if he said he was a co-founder, but he is. Um, And this last line, empowering families to shop smarter for college is a little weird because we already made our decision. But like I just said, it's an ongoing process. So, and I would guess some of you probably have younger kids too. So this is a win-win for your child that's in college and then potentially younger kids. So we're happy to show up. So there we are. So first, let's talk because this might be like, yeah, I get it for some of you, but for some of you, it might not. So, financial aid in general, and this, what I like to call the crazy world of financial aid, it's a bit counterintuitive. All these colleges are discounting. I'm sure a bunch of you, hopefully a bunch of you, your kids got these discounts in the form of either need-based grants, so you had to have some sort of financial need in the eyes of that college or university, or merit-based scholarships, which is all based on your child, grades, test scores, talents. Those are the two biggies that you want to maximize. And if you didn't appeal, Matt likes to say pretty much when you get an offer, you want to have the mindset of you're going to appeal, not, oh, let me figure out if there's a specific little way I can maybe get some more money. Just think about it as that's part of the process in appealing. And we're going to talk about that later. But the takeaway here is both of these things, both of these buckets, this free money, the need-based grants and merit-based scholarships, they're both appealable. So that's the biggest way. That's what you want to maximize, right? It's the free money. You're not paying it back. Your child did something to get the merit-based scholarships in their years in high school. And so these are the wins. The need-based grants could come from the federal government, your state, if your child's at a state school, or not necessarily state school, but a school in your state. Like when I used to live in Washington, you could still get state grants even at private schools, but you had to be in the state of Washington. But the big get for the grants is the colleges. We call that institutional grants. And then the other bucket is loans and work study. And we're going to talk about that because some of you might have been like, we don't want debt. And nobody wants debt, right? We get it. But Matt's going to go into detail toward the end about this. And we have a whole borrowing toolkit we're going to share with you because there's reasons to do it. And then people need to do it many times. And you want to do it the right way. And then, of course, your child can work. So this is how this discounting happens. The need based, and there might be some people on here that just said, I didn't even do these forms because I was told by whoever it's not worth it, or I read an article, or whatever the reason was. And we're going to try and talk you out of that because if you didn't submit forms, that could be leaving money on the table on potential discounts. And we'll get into that in a minute. But the need based, how they figure this out is pretty simple equation. The cost of attendance, which is the whole kit and caboodle, tuition and fees, room and board, travel, personal expenses, the whole bit, right? It's been going up for decades, as we all know. Then you submit these financial aid forms and they calculate a number. And for some schools, it's very transparent. Others, it's not. It can be a bit opaque, which is why we have our software to help people really see what those numbers are for their family. But it can be called a student aid index, also a family contribution, an expected family contribution. EFC is the old term, but it's still out there. So we continue to share it just so that it doesn't cause confusion. So they get that number, they take the difference, and that's your need. So school costs 80,000. You have a $40,000 SAI. You have 40,000 of need. Doesn't mean the school's gonna swoop in and give you institutional grants for 40,000. That's actually gonna be pretty rare. But you want to understand these colleges are businesses. They're nonprofits, most of them, but they're big businesses. So it's very important for you to understand how they're looking at you and coming up with that package that all of your kids, they're freshmen, you got it last year, right? You got that financial aid package. It's not a random thing. It's a very strategically put together package that, as we're going to talk about, can be appealed. So as far as assets and income, those are the two pieces that go into this family contribution slash student aid index. Key takeaways here, it's student and parent. On the asset side, it's pretty much everything that's non-retirement. So, and this might A few people might say, oops, here. It's not 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, Roth IRAs. Many people, I'm a planner by background, as I shared, you have a job and you try and maximize your retirement at your employer. You get your match. That's awesome. It's a win-win. A lot of people don't have a lot of extra money left over to save. So you might not have a lot of non-retirement money. Um, those retirement accounts you should not be including when they ask for the net worth of your investments. But everything else is part of that bucket. So checking, savings, CDs, stock, bond portfolio. Like when I lived in Seattle, outside of Seattle, a lot of Microsoft people, obviously, they get grants, they vested grants are part of that. That's all part of it. The other biggie here is if you've been fortunate enough and you've been able to save in college savings plans for your child, 529s is the most common one. So that should ring a bell if you've done it. If you are the owner of that account, that's an asset of yours. If the grandma and grandpa are the owner of the account, doesn't even get included. Okay. So those are key things that sometimes people get messed up and they think, well, I'm saving for my child. So it's their asset. When in fact, it really isn't. You still own it and you could take it back and pay some tax and, capital gains and, a penalty, but it's yours. It's not a gift. Whereas an UGMA and an UTMA, which you see on the third bullet down there under the second bullet, that actually is your child's asset. And the reason why I'm focusing on that a little bit is because when they do that SAI calculation, student assets are assessed at 20 or 25%, in some schools potentially more, whereas parent assets, it's a little shy of 6% if they're following the methodologies at most. So huge difference. You don't want to make a mistake and have money saying it's your child's when it really isn't. And there are strategies with UGMAs and UTMAs to get it into a parent's name. That would be a one-on-one conversation to go through that. Jointly held accounts, if you're on it, make it yours as a parent. Real estate. For most schools, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but most schools, your primary home equity, if you own your home that you live in, that's not going to be disclosed at all on the FAFSA, the main form that I'm hoping all of you have already filled out. Other real estate is fair game. There are some schools that will look at your primary home that require the CSS profile, but the lion's share of colleges, thousands, do not. So you don't want to include the home you live in. And assets, unlike income that I'm going to talk about, it's the real-time value. So if you put a 529 on last time and you've spent a bunch of it down, your non-retirement assets are going to go down, which will help your SAI because you've spent money. On the income side, it is not real time. It's a 2-year look back. We call that prior year. So you see there, class of 2026, the kids that are seniors now, it's all about 2024. So if you guys have a freshman, it was all about 2023, right? And then this year it's going to be 24 and then 25 and 26. So you want to be really careful how you affect your tax return because this is by far the biggest driver. And at certain schools, there's strategies. You can increase your 401k contributions pre-tax, and that could help lower your SAI. These are all different strategies, but not at every school. So it gets a little complicated. And then student income is a huge part of this, but most kids don't make much money, so it isn't. But it is assessed at 50% for FAFSA schools if it goes over $11,510. Most kids don't go over that. Those are the two components of this. So if you've followed us and you're not brand new, you might have already set up what we call our MyCap account. That's our consumer software. We tell you your SAIs. But if you did a little homework, your kids are there and you just knew, yeah, we're not eligible. We're very fortunate. We make a great living. We are just not eligible for any need-based aid. Remember that middle bucket. That's where you come in. That's the name of the game for you, merit scholarships. And a bunch of you on here, you probably have kids that got that 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 a year. And that's great. I will share through personal experience with my son who went to IU. He walked into the business office and got more money. He just said, hey, do you have any scholarships for kids that are already in college? And they said, yeah, we do. They weren't that competitive. And I think he got 2,500 two different times. That's a lot of money to me that saved my husband and I. So keep that part in mind. This is another big reason to submit those financial aid forms. If your child got married and you didn't submit them, it probably means that school didn't require those forms to do it, but some schools do. So I'm sharing that also for younger kids if you have younger kids. But the other piece is to appeal. You want to make sure you put in those forms if you're planning on appealing, because some schools will hold that against you, if you will, because it doesn't look like it really matters to you to get loans or be open. It doesn't look like you're really that, not desperate is the wrong word, but you get where I'm going here. If you're not filling out those forms, but you're saying, hey, we need more money, well, do you really need more money? So this merit piece, some of this stuff on this slide isn't applicable because your kids, you're not going to apply to competing colleges. That's a strategy for kids that are in high school. But it's important to understand this bucket and that it's not just a one-shot deal. There can be money, probably isn't recurring, like in my son's case, but there is money when you're already in school, in college. So why should you submit these forms? You may be eligible for need-based aid and you don't realize it. Schools are very, very expensive. Matt, we have a podcast. Shout out to our podcast, Matt, and one of our other colleagues, Kevin Murphy, did some case studies a couple weeks ago and talked about somebody who made over $250,000 was eligible for need-based aid. So people always ask us for an income cap, and there are caps. Like if you're pulling in $1 million a year, you're not going to get any need-based aid, right? But that's top 0.01% of people in this country. So most people, you got to rule that out. So if that was a reason you didn't do it, you want to make sure that you're spot on. You're definitely correct. It also is a consideration for merit aid, which I just touched on a minute ago. If your child got merit aid and you didn't submit forms, you're probably okay. But just keep that in mind. It is there are some schools where if you don't submit it freshman year, you're stuck. So if you didn't submit it, we highly recommend you submit them this year, and you can just see with the school your child's at if that's going to be an issue, and you can always kind of fall on the sword around that if it is an issue. And then, as I said, consideration for appeals. We have a team of experts at College Aid Pro, and one of our people is Mike Hinderman. He's the head of scholarships at University of Oklahoma. And he said they absolutely look and see if parents have submitted the FAFSA with their child when appeals are coming in. Because again, if they didn't, are they really that serious about needing money? And then the federal direct student loans. I'm not going to get into these. Matt's going to touch on these in more depth in a few minutes, but all you need to do is submit that FAFSA with your child and they're automatically eligible for those. And that truly is the only student loan out there because it's 100% in your child's name under their social security number with no cosigner. So the takeaway here is we strongly recommend that people submit financial aid forms, 100%. All right, few tips here. And this is not meant to cause stress. If all of a sudden you're like, oops, that's okay. Take a deep breath. You can make corrections, and then you will know for going forward as well. I already mentioned this, no retirement accounts go on the forms. I've had kids who have Roth IRAs now, which is wonderful. That wouldn't go on the form either. Don't include that primary home equity. Other real estate, absolutely. You're going to have to include that, but not the home you live in. If you're not renting and you own it and you own part of it, the bank owns it, or you might own it free and clear. That equity's off the table. When it comes to 529s that I talked about, on the FAFSA, you only put the 529 value as an asset of yours if you're the owner for your child that you're filling out the FAFSA for. I had twins. Brennan's balance went on Brennan's, Shannon's balance went on hers. I didn't combine those and say, oh, that's my asset. Only for each child. That can shoot up your SAI if you've been able to save a lot. Make sure you click the opportunity to have work study. It doesn't obligate you, but if you're eligible, it'll be there. And you guys are already in school, so if you knew about SAI, you probably realize that for a lot of families, you can't just say, oh, it's 40. That means I only have to plan for 40,000. That's Usually not the case. And then when it comes to these forms in general, you don't want to overvalue your business or your secondary real estate. And on the FAFSA, you're not going to include businesses that are small, meaning less than 100 full-time employees and family owned. Even if it has, it's tons of real estate that is valued at $1 million, you're not putting it on there because it's a small business that's family owned. That was an exclusion that was there and it went away and now it's back. So last year, if that falls into your category, you guys, you're a business owner, you might have put a value there, and this coming year you're not going to. And then of course, don't miss deadlines. Very, very punitive. You're giving the college an opportunity to give you less money, and they absolutely, I have examples of it where they will do it with upperclassmen. Different deadlines, but you still have to be very aware of them and don't miss the deadlines. Okay, CSS profile, the second form. So if that's Greek to you, if your child's at NC State or IU that I saw there, you don't need to do the CSS profile. But if you're at some of the other schools, a lot of the other schools that I saw in there, you did the CSS profile hopefully before, and you potentially are going to do it again. Every school is a bit different if they require it every year, so you have to check on that. But on the CSS, there are required questions and there's a lot of not required questions. Pay attention to that because the not required questions you don't necessarily have to answer. I'm not going to sit here and tell you don't answer any of them because we'd want to meet with you because there's some strategy involved sometimes. But just the takeaway is don't feel like you got to answer everything. And that'll make it go by get done faster, less chance for errors on some of those not required questions. Because as you know, you're uploading all your tax documents. So you're not trying to be dishonest. They're going to see everything. Don't overvalue, like I said before, your primary residence because the CSS profile is going to ask you about the home you live in. Key difference between the FAFSA and the CSS and other real estate. You just never, on the forms, you want to be honest, don't overvalue, and don't overshare. Those are kind of the three commandments, if you will. Do not include 529s as a student investment, like we already talked about. That goes for both forms. And on the CSS, they ask for the full amount. So that's always a question with families when we meet with them one-on-one. If they've been able to save a lot, they don't think that's fair. That's a conversation we'll have one-on-one. But the letter of the law, if you click on the little box, it says include all 529s that you own. Remember, not grandma, grandpa. On the CSS, and every parent has a question about this, and rightly so. They ask the student in the student resources section, how much can your parent or parents contribute for this year, the 26-27 school year? You want to be really careful how you answer that question. It's not going to necessarily help you, but it can hurt you. And the one thing we can say across the board is do not put a number there that is higher than what that college thinks you can pay, meaning your family contribution. They might not call it an SAI, they might call it a family contribution. So it's vital to know what that is so that you don't put a number higher. Because if you do it in a subsequent year, you could lose some of the money that you got for your child's freshman year if they're in college right now. They just started. So you got to be really careful with that question. Don't don't overestimate future earnings that they ask about. They ask about 25, they ask about 26. And then in that special circumstances section, when you're almost to the end, we really recommend to pretty much everybody, if you have a reason to appeal, keep it in your back pocket. Don't share there. Get the financial package, the financial aid award letter with the package, and then pull that card out of your pocket and share it with the college. You have more leverage that way. Even if you shared last year, or maybe last year you didn't have anything to put and now you do, keep that in mind. That's the way you want to do it. And then again, don't miss deadlines. You don't want to miss them across the board. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy.
Yeah, awesome question, guys. Please keep them coming. I'm sure many of you weren't here right at the beginning. Just some, excuse me, another gentle reminder. Please put the questions in the Q&A, not the chat. That's where we are focusing. So if you have a question in the chat, we are not ignoring you. Just try to do your best to copy, paste it, put it in the Q&A. We will do our best to get it answered. I know you cannot see what's going on here, but these are just our successful appeals from this year and just a small sample size. $70,000 more at Colby, $65,000 more at Emory, $50,000 more at Tufts, right? Huge numbers at Notre Dame. Some bigger state schools where a lot of people think you can't necessarily appeal for more financial aid, right? You Pitt, U Michigan, Rutgers. So big schools, small schools, East Coast, West Coast, middle of the country doesn't matter, right? Peggy said earlier, we always want to get a better deal than the initial offer, even in subsequent years. And let me share my screen, Peggy, if I could. I
Sure.
think this is where. Okay, and what I'm going to do before I do this actually is give you all a if you haven't created at least a free account with us, I recommend you do because the use case here is you just want to go see what offer did I get last year from the college and does that sound fair, right? Does that sound actually, let me log out of this account and log into mine. um, is it a fair offer, right? So all you have to do, guys, fill in your information, right, and put in the school that you are attending, right, and we'll tell you here's what your family should have gotten. Okay, take it a step further. Upload your financial aid award, right? We'll ask you to take a picture of it here. So you can say, okay, I just saw Syracuse, right? I go to Syracuse. We'll ask you to take a picture of that award. And then when you do, number one, we'll translate it, but then we'll tell you, did you get a good deal? Or I saw there was a somebody here goes to Boston College. Boston College is part of their business model, right? Generally speaking, under awards families, on average, about $10,000. We'll play watchdog, we'll flag it. So this is just a great a way for you guys to do the same. Number one, just kind of gut check. Did I get a good award? If I didn't, is it because the school under awarded me, or maybe I made a mistake on my financial aid applications? Maybe I overvalued my business, my home, et cetera, et cetera. So, again, I want to make sure that you guys are taking advantage of that. Another thing here, and we'll talk about that again, every private scholarship in the country is baked into here. And there's about, and we have this list of 1,500 private scholarships that just apply to in college students, right? So we'll talk about how to grab that at the end here. But again, I just want to make sure that you guys know that this resource is at your disposal. At a minimum, get on the free version and make sure just have us gut check whether you got a good award, and if not. Is it the school's problem or is it a maybe a user error problem? Can we do better on the FAFSA or the CSS, or can we do better appealing?
All right. I don't know if you want to go into any more detail
I'll
or.
just so I'm not gonna read this slide to you, but these are just some of the best practices in terms of appealing because this is not one size fits all. Every college is different in terms of their process, so we have to know how business is done at a particular school, right? If it's a school that uses the institutional methodology, did they not give us a good deal because they use the federal methodology? They're kind of hiding behind the FAFSA. So that's a pretty sophisticated approach, but guess what? It works every time if that's what we're doing. And we need to know how to present that to the college's financial aid office. And we need to obviously, support that with data. Maybe we're going for more merit-based scholarships. Generally speaking, that conversation is going to happen with an individual in the admissions office, and we need the student to be the loudest voice in the room. And of course, sometimes we're looking at both. Let's do better with merit. Let's do better with need as well. And again, depending on the scenario, depending on the school, it may not be too late to do it for this calendar year. I don't want to set that expectation because that is for most folks, the ship has sailed on this year, but at least, and sometimes there's even value in appealing for this year to put ourselves kind of to start that conversation, to plant that seed with that school for next year. Okay, Peggy, go ahead. So obviously, step number one, and kind of the thought process here is number one, we got to make sure that our financial aid applications, how we present our situation to these colleges, are as good as they can possibly be given our situation. Then we got to know, did we get a good deal? And either way, let's go back and get a better deal. Right now, for some of us, even if we had some success here and we got as fair a deal as we could expect, given the college, and maybe we even appealed successfully for some more, but we're gonna have to borrow, okay? And we're out of resources, or maybe we need our kid to borrow, and so I want to talk about some best practices, and then we have a really good resource, actually a couple of resources to share with you all. But let me just talk high level and then we'll get a little bit more granular. Number one, there is no one size fits all. Our lives would be a lot easier, and we are still hoping to do this. We're hoping some company will step up, right? But we are hoping to find everybody should borrow through this lender because they are the best for everybody, right? We just haven't found that yet. And believe me, we are continue to work very, very hard to find that. We think we have some that are pretty good. We have a process that we will share with you that you can follow. But the only kind of, hey, these guys are the best is our lenders for grad school, right? This group called Juno, which I'll share some resources for that if anybody is starting to look at grad school. So how do we know what loan is the best for us if College A Pro can't point us to one kind of best option, one ring to rule them all? We need to figure out what our family's borrowing criteria is because that's going to help us by process of elimination, help you figure out this is the best fit for our family. Okay. And then finally, guys, do your due diligence. We got to shop, right? If I can give people one advice around borrowing, be like, shop. Don't use Sally Mae just because they're the most aggressive in terms of emailing you. Don't use the Department of Education, the federal government, just because they're the ones that the financial aid office recommended, right? We have to do our homework. Okay, Peggy, go ahead here. So, if you were paying attention there, the second slide when we said, "Yeah, your family's borrowing criteria is going to help you find the best solution." I would think that most of you, all of you, went, "What the hell is borrowing criteria? We don't have a borrowing criteria as a family, right?" Well, we all do. Okay, we all do, and I'm going to help you kind of figure out what yours is, or at least start the conversation that you want this to inform your decision. So, these are the questions we need to be asking ourselves. Number one, how much does the rate of this loan matter? Of course, we all care about the rate. The first thing that we look at is the rate, but we have to understand for every positive kind of feature that a loan might offer, there's probably going to be some negatives there. And we got to figure what levers we want to pull to arrive at the solution that's best for us. So, for example, who should be on this loan? Is the parent owning this debt? Is the student owning this debt? Do we care? Is it both? Because we work with plenty of families that say, look, I have to put 3 kids through college. I haven't had the, ability to save for college. So my kids are on their own. So the only role that I can play is co-signing on a loan, right? And there's and zero judgment. That's the reality for many, many households. Okay. So we're going to look for a loan that has what's called an early cosigner release program, meaning yes, I have to cosign on this loan as the parent, right? Because the kids are not going to be able to borrow more than the federal direct student loan each year. So at the maximum, that means $7,500 a year without needing a cosigner. Okay, so there's a lot of loans that have great early cosigner release programs, but guess what? We're paying a little bit more in interest for that feature. Other loans, I can be on that loan forever. Guess what? We get a little bit of a break on the interest rate if that's the case. So this is just a really good example of what I mean by trying to figure out what is the best fit for my family, and that's kind of followed by how much do I value consumer protection, right? Flexibility, another term for this that I use in that fourth point there, insurance almost, right? So the federal government, okay, they have a pretty stinking high interest rate. It's about 9%. There's a 4% origination fee. So, for all intents and purposes, if we're taking out a parent loan from the federal government, we're borrowing at 10% effectively. Okay. In round numbers here. Pretty stinking high number. And there is a world in which many of you are going to be able to beat that 10% through the private sector or through state programs. Guess what? Nobody's going to be as flexible as the federal government in repayment options. You can go on a 30-year repayment plan. You can have a repayment plan that's tied to your income, so your monthly payment can only be so high. Um, Again, proportionate to your take home pay. Some really nice flexibility, right? That's the good news. Bad news, again, 10%. So these are the things we need to think about here of like, how much do I actually value some of these other features aside from just the interest rate right? And let me try to quantify that. And again, by process of elimination, I'm going to show you a link in a second and share a link that's going to take you through this step by step. But Peggy, you can go to the next slide here. So this is, if you guys have not done this, if you've already done this, go, you know, you can nod out for a second here, right? I'll just spend a couple minutes on this slide before we kind of go by step instructions. Um, if you haven't taken advantage of the federal direct student loan, do it now. And guess what? It's not too late for this year. It's not even too late for this semester. Okay. Everybody is entitled to this if they complete the FAFSA. Okay. Your kid is guaranteed to get, if you complete the FAFSA, 5,500 freshman year, 6,500 sophomore year, capped out at 7,500 junior and senior year. Guaranteed to get it so long as you complete the FAFSA. The most flexible in repayment terms, the only loan the student can take out that does not require a cosigner. They don't need established credit. You know, they don't need any type of income. They're going to get it. They're not going to get a bill until 6 months after they graduate from college. So if you haven't done this yet, take advantage of it. Even if you don't need it, guys, even if you don't need it, do this loan, pay it off right away, and establish credit for your kid. So it's a great strategy regardless of how you actually choose to leverage it. And Peggy, let me share my screen quickly, please. I think that's the last slide in the deck, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple things here. This is I'm gonna put this. Oh, that's not. I'm gonna put
Here,
this.
I'll do it. I'll put it in.
Thank
I
you.
got it.
So this is what we call our borrowing toolkit. If you still need to borrow for this year or looking ahead to next year, these are the steps to follow. I just outlined what the plus loan looks like. Okay. 9% plus 4% origination fee, all in basically 10%. Okay. Um, First thing you want to do is shop. Shop. Look around in the private student market. Apply for a couple of these. They're generally pretty competitive with one another. Compare those side by side and see what that looks like. Your specific rates and repayment terms versus the federal plus loan versus the state programs. There's 3 states in the country that you can borrow through, even if you're not a resident of those states, even if you don't go to college in those states. So do your homework here. Okay. And then we have some other, you know, resources in here as well. We do a whole webinar, hour-long webinar just on all things borrowing, all things paying the bill. This is how to make your federal direct student loan actually go through, some more high-level advice. So take advantage of this resource. I know Peg just put it in the chat and just follow these steps, right? And think about that my family's criteria and the combination of these steps and kind of establishing what are the most important features for your family is going to lead you toward what is the best route for your family. Curious, and just put this in chat or give me an emoji with thumbs up, whatever. Is anybody thinking about grad school? Anybody that's here kind of for grad school or thinking about it for subsequent years? Maybe this is senior year, anything like that. I'll show you. I told you the one thing where I can say with a lot of confidence of these guys are the best resource. And again, I'll put this in the chat right now. Juno's going to be your best graduate school option. And that we can say with a lot of confidence. That's again that they make our lives easier. If you want to do, if you're looking to refi, I'm going to grab this. If you're looking to refinance loans, again, I'm going to put this option in here as well. Juno is our recommendation as well. Again, we can't kind of hang our hat on any one company on undergrad, but for grad school, do your homework. Of course, don't take my word for it. But we've done our homework and we feel really confident that these are the guys. And the long and the short of it is pretty cool story here. They're both a couple of they're good guys too, but a couple of Harvard Business School guys. They graduated or they went to Harvard Business School, I think it was 2018. They had the idea. Um, let's figure out who else needs to take out a grad school to pay for our education costs to go to Harvard. They got like 300 other grad school students together, went to all the different lenders and said, you got 300 clients if you want to give us the best rate. And they played Let's Make a Deal. So they have taken that and expanded upon it. And now, at least for grad school, they're working on getting this more dialed in for undergrad, making a lot of steps in the right direction, but they haven't had the same success that they have had and do have for grad school in that now they just have, again, the best rates because they take this whole group of people, right? Everybody that is in their program, and they shop with all the banks and says whoever gives the lowest rate to all of our families, they're going to win the business. So it's a pretty awesome model, and they execute it very well. And again, good guys for what it's worth. So okay, back to the task at hand. Here's the recommendation, guys. Okay, and don't overthink this one. There's just too much at stake here. We're doing this. We do these every once in a while, kind of one day only flash deals, so to speak. Today is one of those days. So Peggy, if you could
Yeah, I'll put
share,
it in the
share
chat.
the link. This is what we call our annual check-up package. But here's what it includes. Number one, we're going to do the FAFSA for you. We're going to review last year's FAFSA. Do we make any mistakes that can get us a better deal for this year? We're going to do your CSS profile if it's required. We're definitely going to review your CSS profile if you did it last year. We're going to make sure, number one, can we get more money for this year? At a minimum, let's put ourselves in a better position to get a better deal for next year. And of course, I don't think too many people enjoy doing those FAFSAs, doing those CSS profiles. Let the professionals do it for you. Okay. If you're borrowing, we're going to stare at how you're doing that, because we probably will have a better recommendations, right, for how to borrow at a better rate. If you're thinking about refining, how do we do that? If you are thinking about grad school, right, what's the best way to do that? I mentioned it earlier. As part of this, you are going to get a list of 1,500 private scholarships for just in college students, right, that our data team has compiled, right? And of course, and again, you'll get, in addition to us taking care of this year, you're going to have one-on-one time with our experts and top experts in the world. So a ton of value here today. We charge $500 for this. This only applies to in-college kids. If you're an underclassman, the comparable package here, you can go online and see it. It's $1,700. Okay, our kind of what we call our forms package. So if you have a senior in high school and you're on this in college presentation, that you would not be eligible for this. This is just if you're in college. So I just want to be transparent there. There's a much higher price point if we are have a senior in college right now. So 20% off, guys. $100 off. Usually this is $500, $499. It's $399 if you buy it today. So use this coupon code college20. So you're just going to hit this get started today, right? And then when it brings you to the checkout, you're going to add your promotion code, college20. You're going to hit apply. Okay. And then again, it'll take the $100 off, and you're off to the races. You will hear from us today to get going. Because obviously the first thing that we want to do is review last year's award. Can we do better, right? And at a minimum, how do we do these forms, make sure that we do them perfectly so we get a better deal for this year? So obviously, I'm not saying this is a nothing burger in terms of the investment, but in terms of what's at stake and the return on investment, that we're able to provide, we feel very confident in the ROI you're going to get here. And you see this here, just this does not cover families that are applying for financial aid for the first time or transfer students. So I just, obviously we offer those services, but talk to us right into support if that's what you're looking for, support at collegeapro.com, or go onto our website and you will see the specifics there. Yeah, Peg, I know we got an avalanche of questions and a lot of great questions. Anything else that you want to add, or any other questions that we should flag and
No, just yeah, we're just like we said, we just can't get to all the questions. Some of your questions are really good, and you really should engage with us because we can't do a consulting meeting like this package in the Q&A. Obviously, there's more questions that we need to ask you, but lots of great questions. Let us support you in this part of the process, for sure.
yeah,
We
and let me, I know there was Renee had a question. She's got a senior in high school and also has somebody that is currently in college. I'm going to grab this link for you to talk to one of our experts, and then they can let you know exactly what the price point would be based on exactly what you are looking for. Okay, so and then somebody is asking for this link. Yeah, you got that, Peggy.
Yeah, I got it. Grad school PDF link does not work. Was that a link to Juno? Is that?
Oh, we'll make sure we send that out to everybody if
Yeah,
that's
we're gonna send you a recording. yeah, people are asking. Yeah, we're gonna send you a recording and we'll put that, all these links will be in there. We just want you to proactively have the links to purchase and stuff if you want to get going right now. But
Yep.
you will get it as well.
Okay. Just going through a couple. Okay. 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 All right, guys. Yeah. So hopefully that was helpful. Obviously, we're covering a lot here. If we didn't get to all your questions, please don't take it personal. We're outgunned here. But continue to engage with us. Um, and again, we've just had such good success with families that are already in college and they let us take over kind of at this stage. And at the end of the day, are paying less moving forward. So um, yeah, that's it for. Oh yeah, and guys, this is the 20% off is only for today. So make sure that you sign up for this today because that expires at midnight tonight. I believe it's Pacific time, but I know it is for midnight tonight. So make sure you take advantage of that.
I'm not sure what you're asking, Nancy, but if you have a change in circumstance, we can absolutely help you with the appeal. If you didn't submit last year, odds are it's a school that will still let you submit and appeal. But we can help you with that. Yeah,
Um,
and we can also meet with you one-on-one. Yeah, if you need more than the package that Matt's talking about, we can help you as well. You can always email us at support@collegeaidpro.com if you're wanting to engage with us in a different way.
okay.
All right.
All right, guys. Yeah. So again, anybody that is not having any trouble just signing up, just I'm putting this email in the chat, support@collegeaidpro.com, and our team will get you squared away here. So, all right. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, everybody else, and yeah, just keep paying attention for in whatever capacity, and let us help you.
All right. Have a great rest of the day, everybody.
Bye, guys.